Hello and a warm welcome to the news on NTA International. We're reaching you live from our studio in Abuja. My name is Obiageli Ugoke, and here with me is Courage Ogieri Haihe as our sign language interpreter. Now on the headlines. APC stalwart hailed nomination of Senator Kashim Shettima as vice presidential candidate. African Development Bank tasked leaders on the continent to see potentials in the agricultural sector. Plus, 11 conservatives jostling to be next UK Prime Minister. Thank you very much for joining us. Now the details. President Muhammadu Buhari may have lost patience over the prolonged industrial action by the Academic Staff Union of universities in the country, saying enough is enough. The president expressed his anger while granting audience to members of the Progressive Governors Forum on Salah homage at his Daura residence in Katsina State. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
Governors Forum and Kebbi State Governor Atiku Bagudu led the APC governors on the visit, which also includes some members of the National Working Committee and other chieftains of the governing party. President Muhammadu Buhari, after hosting them to a lunch, appreciated their support and contributions so far, individually and collectively, in the task of nation building, as well as addressing genuine public concerns.
It has been tough, but I thank God that people are appreciating the personal efforts we are making, all of us, not me alone. Please keep on working for our people, for our country. We are a lucky people.
The president, who spoke at length on the value of education, says apart from increasing knowledge and strengthening the mind, it also makes people independent and put their potentials to maximum use. Achieving this, however, laments, is becoming extremely difficult in Nigeria due to the attitude of university lecturers who go on strike at will.
There's nothing wrong with showing the government and the leadership that you don't like what they are doing, but enough is enough. Don't hurt the next generation, for goodness sake. So those of you who have friends that are teachers, persuade them to go back to classes so that our children can resume their educational pursuit.
The chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum and Kebbi State Governor Atiku Bagudu had earlier paid glowing tribute to the president for his purposeful leadership, patriotism and magnanimous disposition to those in need.
Under you, encouraged by you, our nation has witnessed the greatest investment in the people at the lowest level of the income strata. The put policy measures you have taken has convinced both Nigerians and our neighbors that you mean business. And we have seen investments across the country in different states that were not there before. Investments which are consistent with what you have shown. Let us grow what we eat and eat what we grow. It is your forthrightness, it is your patriotism and belief in Nigeria. Every time we come to you, you support and accede to requests we make in order to make sure that Nigeria is a better country.
He promised that in the best interest of Nigeria and Nigerians, the APC governors are determined to ensure that the governing party retains power so that the worthy legacies of the Buhari presidency can be sustained for a prosperous future of the country.
The members of this forum would like to assure you that we'll work very, very hard to ensure the success of our party. We have all reasons to campaign for our party under your leadership. We have a great story to tell. We believe Nigerians will trust us and Nigerians will appreciate that even where the outcomes are less than what we had hoped, that we have done well. You have done well, and we are very, very proud of you, and we are very, very proud to be your lieutenants, and we are very, very proud to be associated with you.
For a start, the APC governors are billed to storm Oshogbo on Tuesday towards ensuring that Governor Oyetola's Oshun remains an APC state. From Daura, Katsina State, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Turning now to World Population Day, 11th of July every year has been set aside by the United Nations as World Population Day. A world of 8 billion towards a resilient future for all, harnessing opportunities and ensuring rights and choices for all is the theme for this year's event. Oluseyi Adeabo in this special report examines the significance of the World Population Day and the aptness of this year's theme.
According to the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, the world's population reached 7 billion in 2011, and in the phase of 11 years, the population is reaching more than 8 billion by mid-November this year. In an ideal world, 8 billion people points to 8 billion opportunities for all their society empowered by rights and choices. But this has not been so. Too many are still exposed to discrimination, harassment and violence. Building awareness of the opportunities and challenges posed by this milestone, as well as drawing public's attention to the importance of other population issues globally, gave birth to the World Population Day. The movement, which offers celebration of human progress, stressed the import of demographic changes and resilience is here.
Very firmly, it is happening, and nobody can decide that half of the population has no right to exist. We are here, and we have to learn to live with that, but we have to do it in a way that empowers people to exercise their rights and to make choices freely about the things that are very important in their lives.
Nigeria being the most populous country in Africa and growing, as we're told, to become the third most populous country in the world, we must begin now to look at how to harness the opportunities of this growing population.
In Nigeria, this year's World Population Day is being marked when the nation is at a peak of preparation for an actual census.
If the world is 8 billion, how many are we out of that 8 billion? We can only know that when we have an accurate, reliable, and acceptable census.
Though the nation has been working with an estimated population data, key players in national population data have been emphasizing the need for the nations to know the actual population that can confirm its status as Africa's most populous nation. In Abuja, Oluseyi Adeabo, NTA News.
And to speak more on 2022 World Population Day is Margaret Edison, Director, Population Management and Development, National Population Commission of Nigeria. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Ms. Edison, for joining us.
Thank you for bringing me to the studio this evening.
The theme for this year's World Population Day is a universe of 8 billion, which expects a strong future for all, guaranteeing freedom and decisions for all. What do you make of this theme?
The theme is drawing attention to the fact that the global population is growing, and that we should move attention from numbers to the people. Like some have said, that 8 billion people in number ascribed to individual that makes up the 8 billion. So it's drawing attention to the fact that the conversation should move from looking at the number in quote to ascribing to the need of each individual that makes up that 8 billion. Crossing from the children, to the young people, to the adults, to women of reproductive age, to the working population, to the old people, and many, many other segments that makes up the 8 billion. And Nigeria is one of the countries in the world that is contributing to that 8 billion. So our attention is drawn now to come back home and start looking at what are the needs of those people. Do they have the rights to education? Do they have the rights to health care? Do they have the right to employment? Do they have the right to equality? How are their choices met? Choices of when to get married, choices of who to marry, choices of when to start having children, choices of the number of children you wish to have, particularly for the women, and the choices of how to space those children, and as well as having means to spacing the birth of your children. So that's why the centrality of that message is rights and choices. So in Nigeria, we created the environment for everyone that makes up the 216 million people in Nigeria to have rights and choices that will improve their quality of life and better their standard of living.
All right, of what significance is the forthcoming national population census to development?
The population census, on the one hand, gives you the number. And that number is to aid planning, is to aid programming, is to aid activities that will move our population from quality to quantity. So population policy is very, very critical, because that is the basis, that's the evidence of to show how many we are and how many of those numbers are young people, how many of them are of school age, how many of them are in the university, how many of them have jobs, decent job, not just job, how many of them live in the rural area, how many of them are trapped in conflict zones, how many of them live in areas that are far and hard to reach, how many of them are of reproductive age, how many of them will need health care at the community level, which is the primary health care, at the state level, or at the tertiary level, which is the national. How many of them have been registered to have a national identity in Nigeria? So the data, the census data, gives us a very comprehensive data. It will tell us whether we are increasing or our fertility has dropped. Because from the report that was launched an hour ago, the UN data reported that the world population, they was supposed to pass the mark of 8 billion by now. But because fertility has slightly dropped in China and in Nigeria, that is why the population, the world population, is not growing as fast as the speculated, but will be pegged at 8 billion on the 15th of November 2022, that the child that will make up the 8 billion will be born on that day.
All right, thank you, Ms. Margaret Edison. We appreciate your response.
Thank you for having me this evening to speak to the people of Nigeria on the World Population Day of this year.
All right, away from that, 11 conservatives now bidding to be UK next Prime Minister. Shinzo Abe's party sweeps to election victory in Japan days after his assassination, and Spain approves autopsy for former Angola leader. Details of these and other stories with Charles Afon Global Updates.
After Foreign Secretary Liz Truss announced her bid to become the next Prime Minister, a surprise entry was made by a Foreign Office Minister who revealed he was also running in addition to the former Health Minister Saeed Javid. Foreign Secretary Liz Truss officially joined the race for the Tory leadership, with Home Secretary Priti Patel potentially set to announce her candidacy. A surprise entry has also been made by Foreign Office Minister Reman Chiste, meaning 11 Conservatives are now fighting to replace Boris Johnson as Prime Minister. Elsewhere, Japan's ruling coalition swept to victory in an upper house election that took heightened significance following the assassination of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Abe, 67, was shot on Friday in the city of Nara while delivering a speech in support of candidates from his Liberal Democratic Party in a killing that has turned a nation with one of the world's lowest rates of gun crime. The country's leader had urged the public to turn out and vote on Sunday, denouncing the killing as an attack on democracy. In another report, Chinese authorities have violently dispersed a peaceful protest by hundreds of depositors who sought in vain to demand their life savings back from banks that have run into a deepening cash crisis. Since April, 4 rural banks in China's central Henan province have frozen millions of dollars worth of deposits, threatening the livelihood of hundreds of thousands of customers in an economy already battered by COVID lockdown. And in Africa, a Barcelona court has authorized an autopsy for former Angola President José Eduardo dos Santos, who died on Friday. His daughter Chize had requested for the autopsy, saying her father's political enemies didn't want him to back the opposition in the forthcoming Angola elections. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Let's call for a short break now. The news continues shortly. Stay with us.
Experience unlimited super-fast internet access from Entel 4G. Entel. Live more.
Thank you for staying tuned. We begin this segment of the news with security matters. The increase in insecurity across some African countries has forced nations in the region to spend so much of their monies on security investment and less on development financing. This has become something to worry about for analysts and development experts in the region as they propose good governance and policies as deliberate approach to cope with this challenge. Justin Bemunyi reports.
Insecurity of various sorts has unfortunately increased significantly across the Sahel region. This has made governments of these countries to prioritize and spend a chunk of their budgets on fighting terrorism and banditry. Little is therefore left to be utilized in other sectors of development, be it education, health, water, and sanitation, which are developments citizens so much desire. This substitution of finance prioritization is perhaps happening and has become a thing of concern.
It is that we have to now make a link between security, between growth, between security linking it to investment, to growth and development. We can't look at security anymore as an exogenous factor in that development process. We've got to integrate it as an endogenous part of that. And to deal with that and help the countries to have more resources to cope with these issues of insecurity that is now becoming a contagion effect in many countries with spillover effects. The African Development Bank is developing what's called security index investment bonds. And these security index investment bonds will be new instruments that we will launch on the capital markets that will allow these countries of the Sahel and others to do 4 things. First is to build up their defense architecture. I don't mean guns, I don't mean APCs or anything like that, but just your intelligence, your human capacity, your ICT systems, and so on, surveillance systems, which is very important. And second is to rebuild damaged infrastructure in areas of conflict. Third is to rebuild social infrastructure, water, health, education, in areas that have been devastated, because if you don't have those, then you've lost the battle of the mind and soul of the population. And the last one is to also protect areas where you have strategic investments from terrorists and others doing that.
The stabilization of economies in the Africa region after security challenges is said to be made paramount, more so that there has been a rippling effect being felt in Nigeria and Africa from the Russia and Ukraine conflict that called for action. Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
And on anti-corruption, the federal government has affirmed its determination to implement strategies and mechanisms that will promote transparency and accountability, as well as ensure effective management of public funds as Nigeria joins African countries to mark the African Union Day of Anti-Corruption. In a statement by the Executive Secretary, Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, Professor Sadiq Issa and her chairman, Professor Itse Sage, the present administration will not relent in its effort to fight all forms of corrupt practices for a better society. The African Union Day of Anti-Corruption is the 6th to be celebrated on the African continent, with this year's theme as strategies and mechanisms for the transparent management of COVID-19 fronts. Away from that, the Nigerians in the Diaspora Commission has received in audience Nigeria's London to Lagos biker, Kunle Adeyanju, after over a month since he completed his journey. The report says that the biker arrived at Eagle Square, Abuja, in company of other power bikers across Nigeria. It appears incredible, but it is reality.
Can we clap for our Lion
Kunle Adeyanju rode a bike from London to Lagos in a campaign to end polio. The biker, also known as the Lion Heart, traveled 41 days from London to Lagos on a motorcycle to achieve this feat.
Polio really limited its potential to achieve those things. And I said to myself 2 years ago, if there's something I can do to make sure another child somewhere doesn't go through this, then I'll do it. And that's why I did this.
Commending Adeyanju's feat, Chairman, Nigerians in the Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabirewa, described the bikers' campaign as an opportunity to create awareness for the worldwide End Polio Now project.
Thank you, and also thank you for making us proud as Nigerians, for again putting Nigeria on the map of the world and letting the world know that we are Nigerians. We are the best in all we do.
Each time they bring out the countries that were polio endemic, and you see 4 countries: Afghanistan, Pakistan, Somalia, and Nigeria. And we are so disappointed and so angry about that. And today we are so happy that polio has been eradicated from Nigeria.
Mr. Adeyanju rode on his Eagle bike from London to Lagos. And on reforming the healthcare and tertiary education, professors and academics must take a keen interest, especially in issues of education and healthcare, exploring options for reform and innovation in those human capital development sectors. This was the highlight of a virtual meeting between Vice President Yemi Osinbajo